Okay, and welcome to another video. And remember, if this is your first time visiting my channel and you want to learn more about how to earn cryptocurrency for free, about cloud mining sites, crypto investments, and lots of other crypto related stuff, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to tag that notification bell so you're alerted to all my latest content as it comes online. Okay, so as you can see, we are in the Townstar free server, and I can't believe how many more people have joined this program. In the last video, or a video I did earlier, literally where my town is currently, there was none of these people behind. That was sort of like the edge of where the people finished, and now all these people. It's absolutely amazing how big this program is getting, and it's getting more and more popular by the minute, which is absolutely excellent. So this is our current town. We're going to destroy that. We're going to start right from scratch, and I'm going to be showing you how to get started in the forest using no NFTs, no rivers, and no oceans. You'll also notice this timer here in the top corner, left corner. That is going to be constantly running, so you can keep an eye on how long this build will take in total. Obviously, I'll be pausing it at points where we're just waiting for our bank or something to happen, but I will leave that timer running constantly, so by the end of the video you can see how long that build has taken. Okay, so this is our town. Let's click on that. I'm not sure when we destroy this that this square is going to be available when we come back. We might have to go somewhere else, but let's get rid of it and start again. 6-5. Okay, so obviously this is just the server rebooting. Okay, so where were we? Down here. Is that square? Oh yeah, the square is actually still available. Cool. Right, so type in our name. And let's get going. Okay, so we'll start the timer straight away. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to be doing too much commentary apart from in the vital points and when we're just waiting around for something like something to be built or our bank to build up. I will pause it and then we'll come back. Okay, so you're in the forest start. There is a lot of ways you can start in the forest. It gives you a lot more options than the desert. Obviously, you've got plenty of trees, plenty of water, even without a river or an ocean. So there's numerous ways you can start. The way I'm going to show you is the way that I've found to be the quickest, but also the least, what's the word? The least chance that you're going to run out of money or anything like that. So the less risky, should I say. Okay, so before we get started, and for any of you on lower computers, lower spec computers, the first thing you want to be doing is diving into your settings. You want to be putting the graphics to low. You want to be turning the shadows off and turning the music off. No, we'll leave the music on. Turn the sound effects off. I think they're in the wrong way round. I'm going to leave this so it gives you something in the background. Will earn you $5,000. So we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so we've got our bank up to nearly 90,000 now. So we're going to get rid of this wheat field. In fact, actually, no, I'm going to leave that there. So what we want to do now is we're basically looking to get chickens. Now, obviously, in the desert, we did chickens because in the desert, chickens is pretty much about the only option that you can do, which earns you money fast enough so you don't run out of your bank and stuff like that. So, but we're doing it here because it's just, like I say, I find it about the fastest way to get up and running, but also the least risky way to get up and running. Okay, so we're going to have a chicken coop just here. And the reason why for that is because through this build, we are going to switch over to wool. And for a chicken build, you only need one water. And the other great thing with being in the forest is, yes, you get ponds, which gives you 2 water, but it also gives you marshes, as you can see dotted all around. Each one of those marshes would give you 1 water. So, for instance, if we put something in here, you'd be getting 1 water from that, 1 water from that, and 1 water from that. So, as a total, your item in the middle there would be receiving, and in fact, you'd also be getting 1 water from this. So, you'd be receiving a total of 4 water there. Just like here, you've got 2 from the pond, and then you've got 1 either side from the marshes. Chickens only require 1, but sheep require 5. So if we put our chickens here to start with, so we'll get our chickens up and running, go to the ranch, get a coop. We need a trough. And then we're going to put 2 feeders. So I'm going to put 1 there. I'm going to put 1 there. Yeah, and 1 there. Okay, so your builder is going to go and get that sorted for you. We're also going to put we need to put a store just here. So we get our storehouse, basically because your eggs require a storehouse. Now at this point, obviously we're down to 24,000. But like I say, you need to have that storehouse. If you get your chicken coop up and running and you don't have a storehouse, all that will happen is when the rancher goes and collects the chickens, they'll just throw them away. They will not. You will not get them. So you got to make sure that you get that storehouse in there. It is something I forget all the time. If you ask a lot of other people that use Townstar, the storehouse for some weird reason is something that you just seem to forget about. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, bugger. And then you got to sort of work yourself around it. Okay, so we've also got 20 wheat. So we're going to sell 10 of that just to bump us back up to about, that would take us about 30,000. You get 3,500 for, no, 3,000 for wheat. So it takes us to about 27,000, actually, not 28,000. A lot of people, when they're doing these builds, you will watch them and they will remove the wheat. Obviously, that is their choice. Personally, I always think that having the wheat is an aid because it just gives you that extra little bit of money coming in. And it also generally means that you don't need to have to sacrifice your fuel to build up any cash if you're running a bit low because you've got that money from the wheat coming in. But also as well that you require wheat to make feed for your chickens and your sheep. So in a build like this, you've got to make sure that you're hanging on to that wheat. Okay, so that's our chicken coop built. We'll just put our chickens to sleep until we've got our trough and our feeders up and running. So we're gonna be getting 3,000 into our bank in about a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rancher just there. No. I'm going to put a road here. So I'm going to put a bit of road there. And I'm going to put a rancher here. And I'm going to put a rancher here as well. So you got 2 ranchers. We're still at 21,000. So everything's good there. We've got our trough. So just spin that round. In fact, actually don't spin it around. Have it as close to the chickens as possible. Just to, again, speed things up. Like I've mentioned in a lot of other videos, this game is all about speed. So anything you can do, even the difference between the trough being there and the trough being here, that little distance is still time. So you want that as close to your chickens as possible. Okay, so we've only got 4 logs or 5 logs. They only take 1 each. The ranchers take 1 and that takes 1. So that leaves us with, so that's bang on the 4. Once they've all gone, we will then introduce a lumberjack. He will then start collecting all the wood around here and putting it in our woodshed. Okay, so that's 1 feeder. Okay, so obviously this is we're at about 10 minutes. Some of that is me waffling, but you get an idea. You'll get an idea with this. I think it's I'm hoping it will be a good aid for you guys, so you've got an idea on how long these builds should take. Okay, so if you see again, by spinning this round, I can bring these closer to each other. So again, it's split seconds, but it's all stuff that can make a difference. In fact, I'm just going to leave that like that. Okay, so actually I forgot. What have I just said? When I counted that wood, I counted that we'd got enough. I forgot about the store. Again, I forgot about the storeroom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly pause this, and then we're going to come back. Actually, what I'll show you, we'll just add the lumberjack before I go, or before we pause it. So we get the lumberjack, and then he'll go off and start getting more wood. Obviously, there's tons around. So I'm just going to pause it here, and then I'm going to come back when this is all ready. Okay, so keep watching. Okay, so that took about 3.5 minutes or so to get all that done. You can see that our store is ready. We can click on our ranchers so they can go ranching. I'm clicking, not much is happening. There you go. Okay, so so our ranchers are going to start ranching. I tell you, I love this game. I'm not sure who designed these ranchers though, because they just look like they have the worst case of hemorrhoids ever. I mean, who walks like that? I'm guessing they're meant to look like cowboys, but they just look like their jeans are either way too tight or they're in some serious pain. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyway. We're going to wake our chicken back up. And so they're going to start eating the feed that the ranchers are putting out. Now, something you got to be really mindful with this game, and I have sort of talked about this in quite a lot of videos, is your money and your fuel. Now, this is your total bank here. So that at the moment is saying that we've got 21,130. But this, which is also connected with your bank, this 120, that is how much you are paying your workers in total per minute. This little thing with the white dots on it is a countdown. That represents 1 minute. So every minute you are paying out from your total bank. At the moment, we're paying out 120. Obviously, as time goes on, you start building refineries, you start building power stations. That amount will start going up. So you've really got to be keeping an eye on your total bank. So, say for instance, your employment pay is say $500 every minute. That means every 2 minutes you're paying out 1,000. Okay, what you got to look at, especially if you're gonna start building buildings, you know, which is going to cost you and stuff like that. You got to think to yourself, okay, I want to build a refinery. I got 20,000 in the bank. A refinery is going to cost me 15,000. I've got X amount of money going out every minute to my employees. Should I wait for another payment of eggs or whatever it is, or do I think that the amount I've got in my bank is going to last me long enough to build that building and get another payout from whatever you're waiting for a payout from, and keep that money topped up? Because if you don't, then just wait. Do not start something and then, because you might have to. The other good thing with this program is if you do put a building somewhere, say a refinery that costs you 15, you suddenly realize, okay, I'm not got enough money. If you cancel it before it's completed, you will get your money back. So that is another thing that you gotta bear in mind. You just got, you know, like I say, you got to keep an eye on your bank all the time, how much you're paying your employees per minute, but also as well your fuel. If you run out of fuel, that means you can't make any sales. If you can't make any sales, you're not getting any more money. Again, you'll run out. Your employees will all go to sleep. That is your town done. It is over. You're going to have to start all over again. So you've got to really be keeping an eye on this. I can't stress that enough. I know there's plenty of people out there that have got into the game, found the game really, really enjoyable, but they're just like, every time I try and build a town, I get so far and I just run out of money. Basically, normally what that will come from is because you're rushing. You're trying to do too much, too fast, and you're not allowing for how much is going out of your bank. And like I say, sometimes it is best to just wait for 1 or 2 payments to make sure that you've got plenty in there to keep everything else going nicely. Okay, so we've got 2 eggs built up. We need 8 more because you can only sell items in batches of 10. If we go into our trade guy, if we click on eggs, you're going to see that 10 eggs is going to give you $6,500. And will cost you 1 fuel. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that run. We're going to come back when we're ready to get paid, and then we'll look at what else we're going to be doing. Okay, so keep watching. Okay, so while we're waiting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get your auto sell script up and running. You can see that mine is running, but currently from the last competition, it's set for uniforms and cotton yarn. Obviously, we're looking to auto sell eggs. So what we do is we click on our extensions. We go to Tampa Monkey. We go to dashboard. We go to auto sell. And then you can see here, it does have eggs actually set up in our auto sell. If we delete the other two things, so there's just eggs on there. In fact, actually, what we'll do is we'll get it ready for the sheep as well. So copy that, drop that down, paste it in, and then what we just type, obviously we have eggs already, capital W O O L. Whenever you're adding a new command to this script, whatever you're putting in here always has to start with the capital letters. So whether it's gasoline, lumber, eggs, cakes, uniforms, all have to start with a capital letter. If you have something like Pinot Noir, grapes, it would be capital P. So it's Pinot Noir, capital P, underscore, capital N, Noir, underscore, capital G, grapes. That's how you would put it in. So obviously the auto script is extremely useful. Once you've typed in your commands, you want to save them. Then you can come back out of it. But what you've got to make sure you do is refresh your refresh the game. Otherwise, the command will not be set. Actually, let's just go into here, no, here, and because I've got the production rate monitor running as well, and that's actually what you can see on the screen. So we'll just put eggs. And then you'll be able to see how many eggs we are earning. And wool, how many wool we are making. Okay, so if we go save on that as well. Come back here. And then all you got to do is simply refresh the page. So we go refresh. And if you are interested in getting that auto sell script along with the production monitor, I do suggest that you use both. They are great tools. Obviously, the auto sell for the obvious reasons, but the production rate monitor gives you a really good idea of how your build is actually working. If you go onto the various forums or chats like Discord, you can get a really good understanding of how what the average sell rate or production rate for an item is. So you could go onto Discord and say to someone what should be the best without NFTs for producing uniforms or for producing cakes. Someone will probably just give you a quick idea. For uniforms, I think it's about 60 to 65 without NFTs. I think it's probably about 60, I think is actually and then you can check on your production rate monitor. Okay, I'm doing uniforms. I'm only producing 50 uniforms. Or I'm only producing 40 uniforms. I should be producing, if my build is absolutely at its optimal, I should be producing 60. So therefore, you get a really good idea of how your build is doing. So that's why I say the production rate monitor is more than just stats. It really does help. So it just gives you a really good guide. Okay, so we're up to 6 eggs at the moment. As you can see there with the production, it's now showing eggs and showing wool rather than uniforms and cotton yarn. And our auto sell is set for eggs and wool as well. So we're going to come back when we hit that 10 so you can see the sell in progress. And like I say, we'll then look at what else we're going to do. Okay, so keep watching. Just on a quick recap with the auto sell, if you, like I said, if you are interested in using that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the description to a video that I've done showing how to use it, how to get it set up. I'm going to put that link in the description, but if you go right the way through to the end of this video, that link for the auto sell video will be there as well. Keep watching. Okay, so you can see we've got 9 eggs already. If we click on our chicken, we've got about 10 seconds before the 10th egg is made. We're also, while we're here, we're going to add a few wells. And the reason for that is basically because when we move over to sheep, remember we're only got 4 water from the pond and the marsh. So, but we need 5 for the sheep. So if we add a couple of wells in here, that means that our farmer can go and get water and basically water the sheep. So here's our 10th egg. And you'll see, obviously, I'm going to leave the arrow just here. And you'll see that the auto sell script will kick straight in and send those 10 eggs off to market. There you go. Didn't move the arrow. Arrow is still up here. And that's it. And the great thing with that is obviously it saves you a huge amount of time, because once you get your eggs, your build to a point where you're waiting, I mean, you could be waiting for a serious amount of money to build up if you're looking to build power stations or your refineries and get all your fuel depots set up. You might be waiting for quite some time. The last thing you want to be doing is having to stare at a computer screen waiting for to sell 10 eggs every time. So if you get your auto sell script set up, in those times when you're waiting for large amounts of money to build up, just go and make yourself a coffee. Go and watch a bit of TV. Just checking on it now and again. Your script should be selling your eggs. Your bank should be building. When you're at the point that you're happy with, you can then just obviously resume playing. Okay, so like I say, we're going to add a couple of wells in here. We've got 49 seconds for our Okay, so we've got 17 seconds. We've already got another egg in the store already. Obviously, as well, with your builds, you're always looking everything to try and be optimal. You saw with the chicken, the status bar was in green. You can see with the well, the status bar is in green. That means that it's optimal. If your status bar is sort of like a yellow color, it's just below optimal. And then if it goes to red, it's at the worst possible. So you should always be trying to get things running optimally. Like I have mentioned, things like silos, buildings, they all cast shade. So if you've got crops near buildings, they won't grow optimally. If you have a refinery which puts out pollution near crops, that will stop them growing optimally. If you're near salt water, that will also stop crops growing optimally. All these things that you do have to take into consideration. That's why I love this game. It's you've got to have a real good strategy. You've got to make sure that your builds are optimal. Basically, if you want to be getting those rewards in those weekly competitions, you've got to be making your builds as good as they possibly can be. Okay, so as you can see from our production rate monitor, we've produced 5 eggs that the script has picked up, or since we've implemented the script, should I say, and that means that at the moment, according to that, we are making 46 eggs per hour. But it can fluctuate. If say I put something next to, there you go. So it's just dropped again to 40.13. So what you really, with these scripts, especially the production rate scripts, you only really want to be paying attention to this after you've probably put in about 20 or 30, maybe 20, because that should give a fair indication of what you are producing. Obviously, I mean, when this first came on and I'd done 2 eggs, it showed 94. And then since then, obviously, we've done another 2 eggs since that. 4 eggs since that, and now we're down to 40 per hour. So like I say, it will change it. If you let it run to about 20 or so, you should then have a really good indication of what you are producing over that hour. The small number here is what you're producing per minute. This is what you're producing per hour. And like I say, it just is a really good way of figuring out if your build is at its best or if you can improve it. Okay, so we're at 31,000. Obviously, we could go and buy another chicken coop, which is 30,000. But that would only leave us 1,120 in the bank to pay our employees. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to hang on for a few more payments. And we're going to basically jump straight over onto the wool. Okay, so keep watching. Okay, so we got our most recent batch of eggs. That's taken us up to nearly 46,000. A sheep pen is going to cost you 40,000, only leaving you with 6,000 left. Wool also takes a bit longer to create. I'm not sure exactly how long, but it's longer than the 20 seconds or whatever that the eggs are. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell a batch of wheat. So that's going to take us up to 48,000. And then we might sell another batch of wheat to take us over the 50,000. That then leaves us 10,000 in the bank, which should be plenty enough to pay our employees while we're waiting for that wool to build up. Okay, so we're just in the process of selling our second lot of wheat. And, I mean, basically selling the second lot of wheat completely emptied the silo, but it didn't really slow things down because obviously our farmer is constantly putting feed in there. Our ranchers are filling the feeders when they can. And, like I say, it didn't really slow egg production down really a whole lot. So we're 1 hour into our build. We've just hit 51,000. So we're going to claim another 22,000 by removing the sheep. Yep. And we're going to go into the ranch and we're going to get our sheep pen. So we removed the eggs, which gave us 22,000 back. So that would have bumped us up to over 70,000. Then we've gone and got our sheep pen, which has now dropped us down to 33,000, which is absolutely fine. Gives us plenty to go at. Obviously, we could have got rid of the chicken coop without selling the wheat, because I forgot about the 22,000 we would get back from the chickens. But it's always best to be on the safe side. Like I say, fuel and money are at this point in the game paramount, absolutely paramount. If you run out of either, you're pretty much screwed. So like I say, always err on the side of caution when it comes to purchasing anything or selling anything. If you feel like you need one more sale, then just do one more sale. Just wait for that one more sale. We're at 270 city points, and although money is extremely important in the beginning when you're trying to set up your town, it's city points that essentially move you up the rankings in the competition. And 270 an hour in is not bad at all. That would be pushing you up those rankings quite nicely. Okay, so we're just waiting for 2 more wood, and then our sheep will be up and running, and then we'll just wait for our wool to come in, our 10 wool. 10 wool will net you 45,000. So obviously this is another reason to move from eggs to wool as soon as possible, because for eggs it's 16,500 and for wool it's 45,000. Obviously that is a massive difference, so that's going to start really pushing up your bank, which then means that it's going to take less to get to the amount we need to then start looking at building our fuel depot. Okay, so one more log and our sheep should be all ready to go. And you'll notice, like I say, and the reason why these wells are in here is that every now and again our farmer will grab a bucket of water and lob it on to the sheep, but he's also got to keep the wheat fields watered. So that is why we give the extra wells, because otherwise you're waiting every time for the well to fill up. So he's going to water this, and then he might grab the wheat, or he might grab this water first. Okay, so he's going to grab the wheat. Take that back to the silo. Obviously this wheat is growing passively from the pond and the marsh, because it requires 3 water. Oh right, and oh, here we go. There, okay, he's come to forget that. I don't know why he's not watering. Because the ranchers water. There you go. My silly mistake. So the ranchers have grabbed the two waters. Only actually requires 1. They'll probably put 1 in there and dump the other one. You watch the bucket, it'll probably just explode in a sec when it gets to the road. It will, honest, promise you. There you go. Okay, so we now know that our sheep are being watered. Our farmer is watering his fields. Everything is good. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang tight. I made the bad mistake. Obviously, we've got 5 eggs here. We can't sell them because we need 10. So the store cupboard will hold 20 as a total. We only need 10 wool. So what we're going to do is we're going to flush that out, because we don't need these eggs anymore. So you click on flush, you go yes, that clears that out. And so your storehouse is ready to start receiving your wool. Obviously, you could have left them in there, but it means that you would have had to put a chicken coop back in there just for 5 eggs to then destroy your chicken coop, blah, blah, blah. So it's really not worth it. So anyway, we're up and running. What we're going to do is going to wait for these 10 wool to come in, and then we'll be right back. So keep watching. Okay, so you can see the rancher is just getting the final wool that we require. We've got 9 currently in the store. That's going to give us 10. When we started the wool, it was at 1 hour and 6 minutes. It's now 1 hour, basically 46 minutes. So with the setup we've got now, which is your 2 ranchers, 2 feeders, 1 trough, 1 sheep, it took about 40 minutes to get our first 10 wool. But obviously that is going to give us 45,240 city points, I believe. So some of you might be thinking, well, if I'd got 2 chicken coops, it would be a lot faster. But chicken coops are only going to give you 16,500. So what's that? So 33,000 cash. But they also only give you 120 or 160. It might be 120 city points. So two chickens would only give you 33,000 cash, where we're going to get 45,000 for 1 lot of yarn or 1 lot of wool, and we get 240 city points from 1 lot of wool, as opposed to well, I guess it's still 240, but it's the cash. And in the early stages, so the city points are the same, but in the early stages the cash is actually more important. But like I say, you still want to be getting as many city points as possible to start to keep moving you up those rankings as well. Okay, so we're at 73,580 cash now. What we're going to do is we're going to hang on for another lot of wool, and then we're going to start looking at start setting up our fuel dump. We're now at 510 city points as well. So I mean, less than 2 hours, you got 510 city points. That, like I say, within the competition, that is not bad at all. Okay, so we have now sold our second lot of wool. So what we're going to do is we're going to start slowly looking at building our fuel depot so we can get our town self-sufficient. Right at the moment, there is no rush though. We have 33 fuel. That's plenty. The only time you really got to worry is when you get down to about 15 or less and you're still sort of nowhere near getting your refineries, power stations and fuel depots sorted out. But like I said, we've got 113,000 or nearly 114,000. So obviously when you're looking to set up your fuel depot, the one thing you've got to bear in mind, and obviously I was mentioning it earlier about shade pollution and stuff like that and how they affect your crops. So really what you've got to think about is what is your end goal? What are you going to be producing? Are you producing something crop based? So are you going to be looking at getting baguettes or cakes or pumpkin pies or something like that, which requires you to build or to grow certain crops? If that is the case, what you've got to think to yourself is that you need to have your refinery and fuel depot as far away from those crops as possible, so when they are growing at the optimal speed. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is just how to get your fuel depot set up. Obviously, where you place it in your town is going to be entirely up to you, and that decision really comes down to what you are making. Okay, so we're going to put our fuel depot just here, and we're going to do one of the easy builds. It's dead simple. So that is the outer square. So we're going to put a pond here. So we're going to put a pond here. We will put a fuel pump here. A water pump here. And a water pump here. And then in front of that, we're going to have a power station here. Your first main refinery there. And another power station here. And then you'll have a second refinery just here. So we've got 93. So we're going to put our first water pump in as well. In fact, actually, we need to, we require our pond to be filled first. So with the extra bit of cash that we've got, what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves another builder. Having extra builders is always good. The more builders you have, essentially, the faster any job that you do gets done. So we're gonna have one there, and I'm gonna put a third one here. Okay, and then in the meantime, if we spin this round, what we need is a road going across here. We will pave it later, but it's just so we know where everything is sort of going to go. We get rid of this pond. It's fine. Or a marsh, actually, it's $5,000. So we get rid of that. Put another one there, and we'll put another road there. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we will upgrade that road and that road. Okay, so that still leaves us with 60,000. In fact, we're gonna do this road as well. And in fact, we might as well just do all of them, mightn't we? Just upgrade all of that. So that's all going to be paved now. We still got 40,000 left. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back when that is all ready. Okay, so keep watching. Okay, so our pond is ready, so we can click on that, and our paved road is ready to receive our refineries and power stations. But we only have 37,000 left, so what we're going to do is we're going to hold fire and we're going to allow our money to build up once again to over 100,000. Then we're going to come back and then we're going to start adding refineries and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so keep watching. Okay, so as you can see from the timer, we've been going for nearly 7 hours now to get to this point. But the thing is, you will find with this game, this whole sort of build up to the point of where you can really start building your town does take a lot of time. This is why it is recommended that in these long periods, don't sit at your computer, don't just stare at the screen. Go off, you know, go and do something else, watch a bit of TV, have a coffee, get your auto sell script going, let that do the work for you. Then just check on, now and again, check on your bank. Once you've got to a decent amount, then come back and start progressing. Okay, so you can, basically we're going to add a water pump. There. We're going to remove this tree. Unfortunately, removing trees costs like 15,000. In fact, I've actually removed the wrong one. I should have removed this one first. But anyway, so we're going to get another water pump going there. And we're also, what we at, 100,000. So we're going to get a refinery in there. And we're going to get a refinery in there as well. Okay, so that's handy because we've just sent off another sale of wool. So obviously we're getting down our bank a little bit, but the great thing is we've got another 45,000 that is going to be put in very shortly. So okay, so that's one water pump done. We're also gonna put another fuel tank in here. The idea of that is basically to take over from your fuel tank here. What you want to do is run this fuel tank right down, then remove it and start using this fuel tank. Basically, again, it's about time. With this fuel tank being situated where we've now put it, it's so much closer to the refineries. So for them to collect the crude oil that will get put in there to create the petroleum, and then for your gasoline refinery worker to then pick up the petroleum from this new fuel tank and create gasoline. Like I say, that process is just going to be so much faster with that fuel tank right there. So we're going to get rid of the marsh here. We do need a factory worker right here. And then what I'm actually going to do is remove that, and we're going to remove that, and then we're going to put 2 oil pumps in there. So this keeps everything really close together. So again, none of your workers are walking very far to get anything that they require to accomplish what their final goal is. So obviously your factory worker will take the oil drums, put it in the new fuel tank, and then your petroleum guy will come and collect that. And then, like I say, your gasoline refinery worker will collect the petroleum from that fuel tank. Before we get into building the power stations, we will actually need to put a lumber mill in just here. So again, if we remove that, we'll put a road in here, a little bit of road. That is for your lumber mill. Right at this moment, because we've got plenty of gasoline, again, like I say, there's no rush to really get this depot up and running. So once your refineries are complete with all, basically being built, you will get this sign. Do not click on them until you're actually ready to get your fuel depot up and running. And right at this moment, like I say, you really do not need to. So basically just leave that, because if you get that up and running, that's going to add 200 per minute to your wages over here, which is what I talked about earlier. So like I say, until you need it, just leave that. Don't click on it. Obviously, once this is all up and running and ready and creating fuel for you, you can then just start getting on with the rest of building your town. Obviously, if you wanted to, you know, you've got 64,000 there. If you wanted to, you know, and you wanted to sort of get a bit more money coming in, you could add another chicken. You could add back a chicken coop if you wanted, or something else, to then start selling that. The only real problem with adding a chicken coop back in at this point is that chickens, they tend to be greedy little blighters. So what tends to happen is that they get all the feed, and it takes much longer to get your payout from your sheep. So personally, I'm not going to be adding a chicken coop in here. Okay, so all of that has been completed. So we can click on the water pump. We can click on the fuel tank, the oil pumps. But right now, we do not want to be clicking on the refineries or onto the factory worker. Okay, so we're at nearly 65,000. I did sell 10 wheat, so that bumped us up by 3,000, and we're just going to hang on and allow our bank to build up so we can get hold of those power stations, and then your fuel depot is completed. Okay, so to help things along a bit and to speed up the process a little, what we're going to do is we are going to use some wind turbines to build up our electricity. So we're going to get, and then we can get our refinery going, the petroleum one, and then we can start selling the petroleum to sort of help boost our bank. So going here, wind turbine. I think I can put a wind turbine here and it will still be optimal. I think that will be enough squares away from And then because we're doing that, we need to put our warehouse in here. So our factory worker can be storing the electricity. Okay, so that is running optimal. You got the green status bar, which is exactly what we want. And then we need to, hopefully this will be the same. I'm fairly certain it's far enough away from anything and should still be optimal. And I don't think it should affect your sheep either. So cross fingers, I am correct. Okay, so our warehouse has been built. We're about to activate our wind turbine and we are looking for a green status bar. And we have that, so that is absolutely brilliant. And then what we can do is we can activate our factory worker. And then he's going to start collecting the crude oil, putting it into this fuel tank. Because it's so close to where he is at, they will not walk down to the old fuel tank and start putting it in there. They will immediately start putting it in there. Okay, so you can see we're starting to build up some electricity. We've already got 2 crude oil put in there, but we are going to leave it for a while, allowed to get a bit built up, so then when we activate our petroleum refinery, we're not hanging around. They're just going to go straight in, because what we're looking for is to basically build up 10, sell that. That's 4,500 while we're waiting for our sheep to make their payout of 45,000. Obviously, when you're doing this, you really got to keep an eye on your fuel. If you start getting really low, you will need to activate your second refinery to then start making gasoline. If you're wondering why our refineries are sort of staggered like this as opposed to being right next to each other, it's simply the refinery that is making petroleum only requires 1 water, which is supplied by this water pump, and then 2 electricity, which will be supplied by the power station, which we're going to put here. A power station puts out 3 electricity. This refinery only needs 2, so with the 1 water, that means that is going to be completely self-sufficient and not requiring any electricity from the wind turbines. Whereas the gasoline refinery, that requires 2 water, which is supplied from this pump and that pump. So that gets its 2 water, but it also needs 6 electricity. So obviously you're going to get 3 from this power station here, and you're going to get 3 from this power station here. Again, making that refinery completely self-sufficient. So once that is all built, basically you just set it going and leave it. Your factory worker will pick up the oil when required, put it into the fuel tank, and then each one of your workers will visit that fuel tank for whatever it requires to make its final product. And like I say, once that's set, then you're golden, because you're not going to run out of fuel from that point. So then the only thing you've got to worry about is running out of money. And then obviously from that point you can start building the rest of your town, whether it be adding more sheep or growing crops or opening factories, whatever you want to do, whatever your final product's going to be. Once this fuel depot is running, you're on your way. You're, like I say, you're absolutely golden. You should have no problems from that point, as long as you manage your money okay, and you can just start building the rest of your town. Okay, so we've had a recent payout on our wool. That has taken us to 88,000. So at this point, this is where we want to activate our refinery to start making petroleum, because we've only got a small amount to make up to our 100,000 that we require for our first power station. So if we just click on the refinery. We then select petroleum. You've got a full amount of energy. The warehouse is stacked with energy, and you've got 12 oil. So that is essentially going to make 6 petroleum, but obviously over that period of time of making that 6, more oil would have been put in there. So you should be able to get to your 10 pretty quickly. And then that's going to be your first sale of 4,500, which is going to get added to your 80 plus thousand, which is going to get you closer and closer to that 100,000 required for your first power station. Okay, so we've just made our first sale of petroleum. So we're still at 8, so that basically takes us back up to 85,000. And we've got only 4, we only need 4 now for our next wool sale, which obviously once we get that, that's going to take us easily over that 100,000 mark. We can get that power station going. Once we get that power station going, basically because that power station is supplying this refinery along with that water, which makes that completely self-sufficient, that means that that no longer requires the electricity from the warehouse that your factory worker is getting, but also as well, this power station then supplies this refinery with 3 electricity, which is half of what it needs. But because of that, obviously it drops the requirements down quite considerably in the sense of electricity. So if you don't want to get your second power station straight away, you want to get on with your build, you can start up your second refinery, because the electricity that your factory worker is collecting from the turbines will easily give your refinery that's producing gasoline enough electricity to work happily. This is something I do quite often, because Gala Games, on the weekly server, the competition starts at 5 p.m. UK time, which doesn't give me a whole lot of time before I'm sort of due to go to bed, so I get up and go to work and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times I just get my fuel depot up to that point, so 2 refineries, 2 water pumps, and 1 power station with the 2 turbines, and then my factory worker collecting the electricity. I will leave that, and then the next day I will then continue with my build. And obviously if you can have more than 1 sheet pen at that time, that's ideal, because that's going to be collecting you a lot more in the way of cash. Also as well be collecting you a lot more in the way of star points. But 1 is fine. Don't panic and don't think, oh, I've got to raise money to get a pond to then put another sheet pen in. When you wake up in the morning, if you've got 1 sheet pen, you're going to wake up to a couple of mil dollars, which is going to give you plenty of money to then get your second power station, to then start building the rest of your town, add more sheet pens if you want, all those kind of things, and just allow you to focus on getting your town moving towards that final goal, i.e. your final product that you want to be making. Okay, so we've not got long now. We're at 7 wool. I'm actually going to sell 10 wheat, as we've got 12. That's going to give us another 3,000, so that takes us back up to 86. The idea is to keep your pot as high as possible, so then when your wool comes in, it tips you well over 100,000, because if you're at exactly 100,000, that's no good. Like we say, you've got to make sure you've got a good amount in hand, so that you've got the money there to continue to pay your workers until the next big payout. That's what you've got to remember. You've got to last until the next big payout. Okay, so you can see we're at 25,000 now, and we have enough for our power station. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, to build a power station, you need to have a lumber mill, and that is basically because the requirements for a power station are 5 lumber, 5 wood, and 5 energy. So we're going to put our lumber mill in here. There we go. So our builders will basically get that going. And we're going to shortly have enough for another sale on our petroleum. The other thing as well, again to speed things up, it is an idea to put a lumber yard just here. But the thing is, a lumber yard will cost you 50,000. Okay, that's going to cost you 50,000. But if we that will hold 20. That will hold 20 logs. But what we do is, if we can put another woodshed in here. That's only going to cost 5,000, and that's going to hold 10. Okay, so we can put that there. And then what we can also do is remove this. Put a road there. And then we can put another woodshed just in case we get a little full. And that whole thing has basically cost you 16,000 as opposed to 50,000. You've got the same thing. You've got space for 20 wood or 20 lumber. The good thing is as well, if you have this as well as your other woodshed, when it comes to building things, it means that you've got plenty of wood ready, because your lumberjack is just going to continue to fill up these things. And obviously, your lumber, to create one lumber, requires 4 wood. So if you've only got this that holds 10, there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of waiting before you can actually start building that power station. Okay, so we're all ready to rock and roll. What we're gonna do is, I'm actually gonna wait for our wood to build up to a slightly higher level. Then I'm gonna activate the lumber mill. So it again is just a little. It'll work a little better rather than your lumber mill worker walking back and forth to this. Although, I guess when you get the lumber mill running, the lumberjack actually should help fill that up as well. So yeah, so let's just get that running straight away. So we're making lumber. Hopefully the lumberjack should do his job and basically be bringing you the logs straight to your lumber mill. Obviously your worker will go back and forth as well a bit, but your lumberjack here should deliver them directly as well. There you go. He's off. So, like I say, I was thinking about, like I said, hanging on, but you might as well just get it running straight away. It does add a bit more to your wages. It adds another $50 that is now being paid out of your pot. But like I say, once that builds, once that going, we can start building lumber, and then we can then get our power station up and running. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an extra lumberjack. Now, what does that do? That simply speeds up the collection of this wood, which that lumber mill can turn into lumber. And if we really need to, we can sell that. I think it goes for about 13,000, and that will just help with things. Okay, so if I... It's all right. I'm trying to spot a place I can put it without it affecting any of my crops or anything else. I think if I just spin this round here, if I put it here, I can put it there. That's optimal. Yeah, so I think if I put it there, that should still be optimal. So if we put our lumberjack there. So we just need our factory worker to go and collect electricity, and then I can click on the turbine to make sure that it is still optimal. Okay, so we are still optimal, that's fine. So we've got 2 lumber, we've got 3 wool, we've got 2 petroleum, and we've still got plenty of. I mean, we know. I mean, I said start worrying if you get to 15 or below gas with your depot. We are virtually at the point of making gasoline, and we still have 19 gas left. So it is not a worry. We're still cool, and so yeah. So like I say, it's just all this. You just got to keep an eye on all this stuff. Okay, so we've allowed things to build up. We've got 77,000 cash. We're gonna. Why am I clicking that? Let's click this. We're gonna sell 2 lots of lumber. That's going to give us 27,000. We're then going to sell 10 of the petroleum. That's going to give us another 4,500. We're then going to sell 10 wheat, which is going to give us another 3,000. And then we're going to see where we're at. If we've still not got quite enough, because we're basically at the point, once our power station is up and running, to the point, we're basically at that point of being able to make gasoline with no real problem. We might look to actually sell 10 gas, because at that point it doesn't matter because we're making gas. So we'll see what we come up with once we've sold everything else, and then we'll make that decision. Okay guys, so we decided not to just go for it when we sold those items that I talked about. It just wasn't going to be enough there to be able to buy the power station and have enough money left over to make it to the next wool payment. So anyway, we've now got 134,000. We're going to get the power station. We've got plenty of lumber. We've got enough wood. Obviously, what we're going to do is, if we just switch off our petroleum for a moment and our lumber, that means that all the electricity that the factory worker is going to collect is going to go towards building the power station. Therefore, it shouldn't take very long to construct at all. Okay, so we've got our workers with the wood. Remember, we need 5 wood, 5 electric, and 5 lumber. So we've got 14 lumber. We've got 9 wood, including the 7 that are there. And then we're nearly at that 5 electricity. Anyway, we've got 1 ready here, so that's going to go to 4. And then this will be done shortly, and then that will be the 5. Okay, so as you can see, the power station has been constructed. If we click on that, now we need to turn this off immediately. We don't need that making batteries, and the reason why we don't want that making power as opposed to the wind turbines is basically the power station uses crude oil, which is the same thing that your petroleum uses. If your power station is using up all the crude oil to make batteries that you don't actually need at the moment, your petroleum is not going to be made. That means that eventually you will run out of gasoline. We're going to activate the gas station now. So we click make gasoline, and as you can see, our wages has now gone up to over 1,000. So that means every minute we're spending 1,000. We're at 4 wool, which, if we remember, 10 took 40 minutes. So what I'm going to do, because we are now making gasoline at that point, we're going to sell we're going to sell the I'm going to sell the 10. I don't know why I keep clicking on that. We're going to sell the 10 fuel that is then going to take us to 45,000, which will be absolutely plenty enough to get to the next wool sale. We're, like I say, you can see it, we're already making gasoline, we're still making petroleum, we're making electricity, which our factory worker will collect, and that is it. You can then purchase your second power station, so then that becomes completely self-sufficient. You can then get rid of your wind turbines, and that's it. Everything's good to go. You're off and running. You're going to be self-sufficient for fuel, and then you can just start focusing on the rest of your build. So it has been a bit longer than I expected. As you can see from the time, it's taken 10 hours 5 minutes. Now the only way that you could really speed this up, which would speed it up quite a bit, is when you reach that first $100,000 mark. What you want to do is remove this well, because you've got those 3 here. Remove that well, add a pond there, and then put a sheep pen just there, and then that will supply 5 to that sheep pen. Obviously you've got the well for that one, which you might not need anyway, because this pond here should actually add 1 to that. So 2 sheep pens would then become self-sufficient without the requirement of those wells. And then that's it. Obviously, like I say, if you do that after earning your first $100,000, that is going to speed up your time to building your refinery a lot. Obviously, it's going to speed it up by a lot. Obviously, I didn't choose to do that. I just showed you using 1 sheep pen. It's taken 10 hours and 6 minutes, We've got 42,000 in the bank. We've got 4 gasoline left, and we're making gasoline as well. So like I say, everything is good to go. And that's all you need to know. So I'm going to leave that there. I hope you found it interesting and informative. So if you are interested in that playlist that I talked about, it's probably on your screen right now. And if you could smash that like button, really supports my channel, which then helps me bring more content to you. So take care, have a great rest of your week, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.